guys, so I am beyond thrilled to be filming this video today. We are celebrating 175 subscribers here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I always talk about how I have such an amazing community, how all of my viewers are just so sweet and so supportive, and how I very rarely get negative, nasty comments, and you guys are great. You guys are amazing. So I wanted to celebrate this milestone with a very big giveaway. I have a few things over here just to show you, what I'm going to be giving away. There is a ton more. I just didn't want to bore you with everything. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but the Natasha Denona Zendo palette will be included. The Westman Atelier Lip Suede in Le Rouge will be included. Some of the new Surratt Artistic liquid blushes will be included. The Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. The Tower 28 cream blush in After Hours. A Jouer Blush Duo Cream Stick. A Givenchy Prism Libre loose powder. Some Orsay loose powder, and just a ton of other stuff that I have been accumulating down here underneath my vanity for a very long time. So a very large box is going to one very special winner, and I will have all of the information down below in my description box as how you can enter. So take a look down there if you are interested in entering. But again, just a huge thank you to you guys for just being amazing, just being your amazing selves. So I haven't done this assumptions about me tag video in a really long time, and so I thought it would be a good opportunity to do it now, since there are so many more of you out there that are subscribed, that have joined the family here. So I thought it would be a good time to do one. And if you have been with me for a while and you have watched my previous assumptions about me, I think I've only done this once before, maybe twice. So I do want to address some of the newer viewers here. So some of the assumptions are going to be the same, but to keep it interesting for you guys that have been here for so long, I will throw in some different assumptions in there just to keep this conversation lively. So anyway, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm giggling because I kind of took a peek, but I didn't really want to overly prep my answers too much. So this is going to be kind of a surprise. Let me pull them up. Okay, so I asked on Instagram twice. Okay. Responses, see all. Okay. Let me just see how many there are. Oh, wow. There's a lot. There's a lot of assumptions. Okay. Let me just scroll. And I think that you're so sassy and that I love your voice. It is so relaxing and calming. Well, thank you. I don't think that's an assumption. I think that's an observation, but thank you very much. Okay, let me pick another one. You manage your husband's skincare. I do. I do manage my husband's skincare. So this is one of those strange things. He loves to go to Walgreens. He goes to Walgreens, he goes up and down every aisle, and he buys all kinds of stuff, and he leaves spending like way more money than we ever intended to ever spend at Walgreens. But it brings him so much joy. So I let him do it. But he was buying like exfoliators for his skin, which were just too harsh. He has fairly sensitive skin, but he does, in terms of oiliness, his skin is fairly normal. And so he gets, breakouts in his like beard area. Not that he has a beard, but like in that area. And so he was just buying these really harsh exfoliators, ones with like acid in there. And, they would kind of help in the beginning. And then all of a sudden he would be like, why is my skin just peeling? And eventually I was like, okay, stop buying that stuff at Walgreens. I get plenty of stuff in PR. A lot of it doesn't work for my skin type. I have such dry skin that things that are for more normal oily skin, he can definitely use. So he has actually become a huge fan of Belief. I think they're a Korean skincare brand. They're sold at Sephora, but we thought we would give it a try. For some reason, we were just sort of walking around Sephora together, and I was like looking at, all the different skincare, and I was like, this actually sounds pretty good. Like it had some pore cleaning ingredients, but it also seemed like it would be good for sensitive skin. So anyway, every time I do like a Sephora like VIB sale haul, I always buy him like one or two of like the cleanser and the moisturizer that he uses. So yes, I do manage his skincare. You're an earth sign. I am an earth sign. Are you guys into astrology? I'm into astrology. I was into astrology like in the late 90s, that's when it had like a really big resurgence, sort of like what's happening now. And so I got really into it back then. I got, you know, all the big books, and my friends and I would sit around and we would talk about it. And at that point, I was with my husband already, but a lot of my friends were single. So it was like such a big deal. Like, well, what sign is he? Is that compatible? Like, oh my God, is that going to happen? So yes, I'm an earth sign. I'm a Virgo. I'm a terrible Virgo, though. I have Virgo tendencies, but I don't feel like I'm a fully functioning Virgo. I'm not very anal. I'm not very clean. I'm not very organized. I'm organized up here, like with my thoughts. I'm very clear with my thoughts. I'm very efficient with my day and like what I need to do, but my room is a wreck. My bedroom, kind of messy. My downstairs looks like a bomb went off. So I'm not your typical Virgo. I'm not a big planner. I'm not that great with money. Like, I'm just not a great Virgo. I think because my rising sign is Gemini and my moon is in Leo. So I think a lot of other things are at play for me. I have a lot of air signage in my chart. So I am an earth sign, but I'm not a very good one. My husband's an earth sign. Two of my best friends are earth signs. Another one's a Virgo, one's a Capricorn. My husband's a Taurus. Like, I'm surrounded by earth signs. I feel like I get along really well with earth signs. Of course, this is all kind of hokey pokey, but I do get along really well with other earth signs. And I feel like the big earth sign things, maybe not necessarily Virgo, but the big earth sign things I really relate to. I feel like I am very earth-y, if that makes sense. Like, I'm definitely not a water sign. Like, I like the beach, I like the lake, pool is really nice, but it doesn't draw me. I really like forests and trees, and it's pretty ironic that I live in Las Vegas, but I like a lot of foliage, and I love changing leaves, and I love animals, and yeah, so I'm an earth sign, but I'm a terrible Virgo. Okay, you're an excellent cook. Excellent? I can cook. I can cook. I'm not afraid of cooking. I can throw a meal together. I enjoy cooking when I have the time, because I feel like it takes preparation, it takes a bit of planning, the cooking itself takes some time. And I like it when I have time, but when I don't have time, it's like the last thing I want to do. But I'm not an excellent cook. I can follow a recipe. I can kind of figure it out. I feel like whatever I make is fairly edible. But no, I wouldn't say I'm an excellent cook. I do like to bake. Would I consider myself an excellent baker? I mean, I'm a decent baker. I really, really like baking. I like the kind of chemistry of it all, kind of like mixing everything together, putting it in the oven and just seeing like what happens. Like, I really like the mystery of it. Where cooking is like a process where like you can add and take away and like really modify as you go along, where I don't feel like you can do that with baking. And I feel like I like that a little bit more, where you're just sort of like giving up the control and just like, oh, let's just see what happens. I really like that about baking. But I'll say this, I'm a decent cook. I can throw together an edible meal. Butters. You want to be BFFs with Sonia G. Oh my God, who doesn't want to be BFFs with Sonia G? Okay, let's just start there. Who doesn't want to be BFFs with her? I've actually had the pleasure, the intense, immense pleasure of hanging out with Sonia G here in Vegas. She actually came here for work. This was obviously years ago, way before the pandemic. And then I went to Japan and went to the Fude Festival. And she so kindly like took me and my friend around, and we were staying at the same hotel, and she's just so sweet. And I do feel like I was very awkward on that Japan trip, because I'm not a great traveler. So the entire trip, while I had a great time and I did all the things I wanted to do, I just felt really out of sorts. So I hope she doesn't think I'm too strange. But anyway, she's wonderful. She is just the sweetest, most gracious, beautiful, just everything about her is just absolutely perfect. And it comes across in her brushes. Like, everything she does is perfection, is absolute beauty. And yes, I would love to be BFFs with Sonia G. Right now, I would call her a very good friend. but to call her a bestie would be an honor. What do we have? I don't know why I'm like scared. You like crime, movies, books. I do. I really like true crime. I love watching my friend Better Off Red here. She has a true crime series. I love watching Bailey Sarian, of course, with her Monday makeup, murder mystery Mondays or whatever it is. Anyway, I'm really into true crime. I'm really into mysteries. Those are my favorite books to read, are mysteries or serial killers. I'm very, very intrigued by serial killers. Serial killers are just fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating. It bothers my husband quite a bit. He will quite often come into the bedroom after I've fallen asleep, but like the TV is still on and it's some like gruesome, murderous, like killing spree that's on the television. And he's like, how do you fall asleep to that? I'm like, I don't know. It's very comforting. But I do really, really like true crime stories. I don't know what it is. You know, many people ask me, what is it about true crime, serial killers? It's so fascinating. I know I'm not the only one because it is such a hot topic now, and everyone's talking about true crime, but I just love it. I just love it. I remember living in New York City and finally my like cable provider got the ID channel that was on all the time, all of the time. And it was just, oh my God, it's just so fascinating. I feel like people are so nuts, so nuts. Anyway, yeah, I really, really love it. And in terms of books, I prefer like more like fiction mystery versus like nonfiction, kind of like documentary books. I've read them. I've read plenty of like true crime nonfiction books, but I much prefer like fiction mystery books. I really like ones that are placed like in Victorian times. I don't know. I just really like those. Okay. You're introverted, think carefully, and are deliberate in your responses. I am introverted. I am an ISTJ. If you guys are familiar with Myers-Briggs, I'm an ISTJ. Like I'm like a very ISTJ. Like there's sort of this range for all of those things. I'm like a very ISTJ. So yes, I'm introverted. And sorry, what was the second part? Think carefully and are deliberate in your responses. I think it's important to think before you speak. And I think not enough people do that. And I really try to think before I speak. Sometimes I don't, and I usually regret it. So yes, that's a good assumption. I like to think carefully and be deliberate in my responses. Yes. You never intended to be a YouTuber. Yeah, absolutely not. I never intended to be a YouTuber. I'm going to be 48 in a couple of months, and like, when did YouTube actually become a thing? Like, I was a fully formed adult with a career, with aspirations before YouTube even existed. So, yeah, I absolutely did not even intend on being a YouTuber. Even when I started YouTube, I never really intended on becoming a YouTuber. I just figured and assumed that it was going to be a good side hustle, that I'd be able to make enough money to kind of cover the makeup that I was buying, and that was good enough for me. And little did I know, YouTube is a big, big business, and I make a very good living doing it now, and I couldn't be happier. You know, I think all the time, like, what if YouTube never existed? Like, what would I be doing? Like, would I still be in my previous career? Would there be something else that I would have come across that would have allowed me a creative outlet, allowed me a way to connect with people, you know, all the things that I love about YouTube. And you know, I'm just, every day I feel like I'm so thankful that YouTube exists, you know, that it's like something that I can do. It's my career now, and it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me. But no, I never intended on being a YouTuber. Never, ever, ever. So that was the first time I asked it on Instagram. Let me go to the second time I asked. Wow, you guys are amazing. There's so many on here. That you like filthy jokes. Yeah, I mean, I like jokes. I like jokes. I'm into jokes. Filthy jokes? I mean, sure. Yeah, I'm not a prude, so it's not like they bother me or anything. So yeah, as long, it just has to be funny, okay? I like funny jokes. I don't like jokes that aren't funny. Anyway, you get me. Yes, I like filthy jokes. Okay. Oh my God, there's another one. I assume you're a good cook. Well, we talked about that. All right, let me go to another one. Color coordinated closet. No, not really. Like I said, like I don't want to say I'm like super sloppy or like I'm a total slob, but I don't put a lot of thought into that stuff. Like, I just don't have the time. You know what I mean? Like, if the clothes make it onto the hanger and into the closet, that's a win. That's a win for me. If like my sweatshirts and my sweaters are actually folded on that shelf on top, that's a win. So no, it's definitely not color coordinated. Maybe one day I would love my closet to live its best life, but right now, not so good. It's not so good. Okay. You were quite wild in your teen years and sometimes got into trouble with your parents. Yeah. Yes. I know my mom watches. So anyway, we're far beyond those years. I know she's forgiven me. Right, Mom? But yeah, I used to cut school all the time. I grew up in New Jersey, and I was about a 30-minute train ride away from New York City. So I would say starting about sophomore year, I started cutting school, walking down to the train station, grabbing the train, going into the city, and then coming home. And thinking back to that, like, how old are you when you're a sophomore? 15 years old? What was I thinking? But anyway, yeah, I did that all the time. And, you know, I grew up, what was that, like in the 80s? So, you know, the most schools would do, they would call home if you were absent, right? When they took attendance, they would call home. And so long as someone was there and accounted for your whereabouts, then it was fine. So I would just pick up the phone and I would be like, yeah, I'm not feeling well. And they were like, okay. And that was it. And then I would walk to the train and hang out in the city. So I did that a lot. My parents, I don't think ever caught on to that. Both of my parents worked a lot. My mom and they both worked, 6-7 days a week. So it was only when I got my report card and it would have like, 100 absences. They were like, what number is it? This is like one of the few benefits of being a child of an immigrant because they didn't know how things worked here. And so I would just say, that's just my attendance. And they were like, oh, okay. And that was it. So I did do that a lot. My friends and I mean, kind of typical high school stuff. We started drinking. I never drank that much because it never made me feel that good. I started smoking when I was a junior. I would steal my parents' car a lot. Most of the time I didn't get caught. Every once in a while I would get caught, and that was not good. But I kept my grades up, and that's what was the most important thing to my parents. So yeah, I would say I was kind of wild in my teen years, but like not crazy, especially not compared to some of the kids today. Okay? I'm not that wild. I don't know. I've always been a kind of person that just wanted to do what they wanted to do. Like if I just didn't want to go to school and I would just rather hang out in New York City for the day, then I just did it. And I never really thought anything was wrong with that. It was just like, why would I do that when I could be doing this kind of a thing? So anyway, call that wild if you want. Oh, this is from my friend Max. You don't wear 6-inch stilettos to run errands. I do not. Those days are over. I want to say a good 15 years in there, I wore 4-inch stilettos every single day. And I know 4 inches doesn't even sound tall anymore, but I wore them every single day, walking, running to the subway, up and down the subway stairs, standing on the subway, going to work, walking around work all day, then going out for drinks, whatever, and had no problem whatsoever. And then I started to work from home and I started to work for myself, and I just got out of the habit of wearing them. And it's just way too hard to get back into it. Now I'm just like, what? They're so uncomfortable. So now occasionally I'll throw heels on, but I always regret it. And I'm like, why? I don't need to. So yeah, I definitely have a growing collection of very comfortable shoes that I opt for. And it's like the more comfortable shoes you have, then the more options you have. And it's like, no, I'm definitely not going to wear those stilettos. But I used to wear stilettos all the time. You got tired of coloring your hair and embraced your grays. Well, I never colored my hair. So I think that's probably why I embraced my grays, because they just grew in. And I was like, oh, hi, how are you? Yeah, I don't know. They just don't bother me. I just couldn't care less that my hair is turning gray. Okay. You've had some tweak mints. What are tweak mints? I think I know what that means. Hold on. Let me Google it. Tweak mints are non-surgical, cosmetic, or aesthetic procedures that can rejuvenate the skin and soften lines and wrinkles, improve irregular pigmentation, tighten sagging skin, add back volume to aging faces, and adjust their proportions of facial features. Oh, no. Well, let me tell you what I have done. I don't do anything regularly, so there's that. I've had about 3 facials. I have very sensitive skin, so I never trust whatever they're putting on my face. I never trust it. So I've had 3 facials when I've been with like girlfriends, and it would seem weird if I didn't do it. So anyway, I've had about 3 facials. They all turned out very nice, very lovely. I had some extractions done on my nose, which was really nice because I've never had that done. That was lovely. And then I've had 2 IPL treatments. So that's the, I can't remember what that stands for, but it's like a laser, and it's for like hyperpigmentation or whatever. And the reason why I've had 2 is because I've had one not knowing what it was. And again, it was like my friend was getting a facial and I was like, okay, I'll get something. So I just signed up for it because it sounded good. And the one was like, well, this is actually like something you need to like come back for. Like, it's not just a one-time deal. And I was like, oh, but I got it done anyway to see if I liked it, to see if it is something that when I got home, because I was traveling, when I got home, I would want to do. So then I got my second one because I did go to a dermatologist here, and I asked about IPL, and they said, oh yeah, and they, you know, basically sold me like a 10-session package. So I got my first one, and then the pandemic happened. So I've only had 2 IPLs, and that's it. At home, I use that zip tool that I've told you guys about. That's that nano microcurrent tool. So I do the zip tool, and I feel like, is there another tool that I use? Oh, I use the LED mask. So that Dr. Dennis Gross, that LED mask, I use that before I go to sleep. So that's it. Those are are those tweakments? I don't even know. Non-surgical cosmetic procedures. Well, so I don't know if those are all considered tweakments because I do like the Zip Beauty and the LED mask at home, and a facial. I don't think a normal facial is a tweakment, but I'm assuming the IPL, yeah, improve irregular pigmentation. So I've had 2 IPL treatments. So now that things are kind of lifting here in Vegas, I'm hopefully going to go back to the dermatologist, and hopefully my sessions will still be good because I have 9 left. So anyway, wow, that was the longest answer to your very short assumption that I've had tweakments. All right, let me go over to YouTube because those were all on Instagram. All right, you prefer tea rather than coffee. No, I much prefer coffee. In fact, coffee runs through these veins, not blood. And tea actually bothers my stomach. I know that's a rare thing. I think a lot of people drink tea to soothe their stomach, but coffee doesn't bother me at all. It's wonderful, but tea really bothers my stomach. So I don't drink it often. And if I do drink caffeinated tea, and this is, you know, my husband thinks this is so funny because my husband's a tea drinker. And if I have caffeinated tea like after noon, I can't sleep that night. Yet I can have like 8 shots of espresso in bed and pass out. So, I mean, I know it's like what your body is used to, but coffee just really suits me. And I just love coffee. If you watch any of my vlogs, it usually starts with me making espresso in the morning. So I'm a coffee lover, not a tea lover. Okay. Oh, this is a long one. That while you enjoy higher end fashion, makeup, decor, etc., you secretly enjoy trash food and TV like 50-cent hand pies by the cash registers at grocery stores and judge shows like Judge Judy. Your assumption is 100% correct. My thing, especially with food, is I like it all. I like it all. I can eat like those 50-cent those table talk pies. I can eat those for sure, not a problem. But I love also going out for like a big fancy meal. And when it comes to TV, I do have really strange taste when it comes to TV. Like I really, really love watching Hoarders. I love watching my freaky habit, something, my freaky foods. It's something where people have like these strange, now I have to look it up. What is it called? My freaky, like there was one episode where there was an adult that really enjoyed wearing diapers and dressing up as a baby. So it's like my freaky addiction. Oh, it's called My Strange Addiction. Okay, that is definitely one, but I feel like there was a show with the word freaky in it. I don't, maybe I made that up. Anyway, My Strange Addiction. I love that show. So My Strange Addiction. Oh, My 600-Pound Life on TLC. I love that show. Nothing brings me more joy when at the end of the episode, like the person has like overcome, you know, some of their demons, and they're basically well on their way to like living a healthier life and kind of just like getting back to life. Because the saddest thing about the people that they showcase on the show is that they just end up like not living, you know, they're homebound, they can't play with their children, like all these things. And it's so painful to watch, but when it's a good ending, it's such a good ending. So I love My 600-Pound Life. Same thing with Hoarders. It's like when there's a good ending, it's so nice. Like it's so nice to see the cleaned up house. Oh, I just love that. That's very Virgo of me. That right there. Okay, let's just do one more. How about that Las Vegas wouldn't be your first choice when it comes to places to live? Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, I am originally from New York City. And well, I grew up in New Jersey, went to NYU and stayed there. So my husband and I were getting priced out of New York City, and I had just started working for myself. So we were like making less money and expenses were going up, and it was a hard time. It was a really hard time for us. So we were kind of, you know, attacking the problem the way you normally would. Like, okay, do I need to get a second job? You know, my husband was like, okay, I need to, you know, find a different job. You know, like we were just going through all of this. And then finally we were like, should we move? Like, should we try something different? Because it felt like, and a lot of living in New York feels like this, like you're just sort of banging your head against the wall. I love New York. I absolutely love it, but it's not an easy place to live. It's very, very expensive. You're living in very tight quarters. You're surrounded by people all the time. And once we kind of opened up the idea of like actually living someplace else, it's like, wait, we can live someplace else. We just started to think like, where could we go? And like, what could we do? And just, you know, all of these thoughts sort of started rushing in. And my husband has always loved Las Vegas. He loves the climate. He just loves the city. He just really, really enjoys it. And I just was not really a fan. I really wasn't, mainly because I love winters, and I think I was just saying this, I love forests and greenery and changing leaves, and nothing could be further from that than Las Vegas, at least in my mind. But when we started to talk about like what were some of the things that we would want in the place that we were moving to, I was like, well, it has to be a lower cost of living. Which was literally anywhere outside of like New York or San Francisco. So that was easy. I wanted, you know, an easily accessible airport. I didn't want to live someplace where it takes you like 4 or 5 hours to get to an airport. I'm like, I don't understand that. And then I wanted good restaurants because I do like to go out and eat. I wanted easily accessible shopping. You guys know I love shopping and I love fashion and everything. So we were kind of painting this picture of like another like metropolitan type of area. But what I didn't want to do was move from New York to a very similar situation, because we were thinking about Chicago. That kind of would have been more of the same. Boston kind of would have been more of the same. I was like, if I'm going to uproot my life, I want something different. I wanted to move someplace that was different enough that I wasn't constantly comparing it to New York. So Las Vegas actually had all of those things. So we decided to give it a shot. And while I still miss New York all the time, I really enjoy Las Vegas. Las Vegas is very, very nice. It is hella cheap compared to New York. The people here are very nice, which is still very strange to me. It's still uncomfortable when a complete stranger talks to me, but it's okay. And while I'll probably never, ever get used to the heat here, people say it all the time, like people who've been living here a long time or native Las Vegans, they're like, oh, you'll get used to it. I'm like, no. It's like me telling you you'll just get used to a New York City winter. I will never, ever get used to the summers here, ever. So I just stay inside. I've decided that the summers here are like winters in New York. You just decide to hunker down. Just gotta stay inside. You're not gonna go out. So yeah, wow, I completely forgot. How about that Las Vegas wouldn't be your first choice? Yeah. So it really wasn't my first choice place to live, but it really did fit all of the criteria that I was looking for outside of New York. So anyway, wow, I feel like I've been talking for more than an hour. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you guys so much for writing in your assumptions. Always so much fun to do these videos. And don't forget to check down below for instructions on how to enter the 175K subscriber giveaway. Thank you guys so much for all of your loving support. And while I'm at it, I should just mention that a lot of my shawls, one color has sold out. A few of my colors are pretty low in stock. And I placed an order to last me to next summer because I didn't want to have to keep ordering from overseas. It takes such a long time to get here, especially when it ends up being stuck in customs like this last delivery was. So anyway, I'm so pleasantly surprised again by all the love that you guys have shown the latest release. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video.